Excellent. Well, that brings me then on to my second question around outcomes, which picks up where the chair started, really. If I've understood, let's just check, the three priorities: research excellence, discovery science, growth, R&D, and strategic sovereign missions. Can I just ask you, and we've had excellent sessions with the Minister and the Secretary of State, how you want to be judged, what you think the real outcome metrics are. So on research excellence, it would seem to me it's quite easy. It's bang for buck. Are we winning more Nobel Prizes, winning excellence? That's quite easy to measure, I think. Interesting question. What's our ratio of excellence to mediocrity? Is it better than others? We're going to have to be better than others. Secondly, growth. Very interesting that. Lots of metrics. The Secretary of State, to my view, admirably said, it's very simple. How much private investment are we pulling in return for this very substantial public R&D? I agree. I think the committee agreed. And she took away an action to come back to us on, hopefully working with you, on how to measure it. And then on strategic sovereign, we accept, I think some of that is a bit secret squirrel. Some of it is defence related and perhaps other committees. So can I just pick up the growth one? It seems to us, we've done a lot of work, there are big growth sectors, life sciences, clean tech, agri-tech, AI, that grow way beyond the rest of the economy. The industrial strategy is quite high level, but we're hoping you've got more of a sense internally of where that growth is. And places, clusters. So are you on the journey to being able to map and report to us, look, of that growth money, the Permanent Secretary told us it was of a year 14 billion blue sky, 7 billion growth and 18 on sovereign, whatever the number is, how you're doing against the Secretary of State's test of are we pulling in more money?
Yes, so all of those things we have clear metrics for. We have a balanced scorecard. We publish that every quarter. I'm very happy to share that with the committee if that's useful to you.
Yes.
But I do agree, frankly, with the thesis that the types of things that we should be held to account are inward investment, how much money do we pull into the country, what leverage is there from partners, how many jobs do we create, do we, and then so those are sort of hard numbers, and then there's also the more slightly anecdotal but also real, where if you're starting up, like, I don't know, let's take Norwich, it's a great example, the cluster at the Norwich Research Park. If you're starting up a company in food science and you could be somewhere else in Europe, you think, well, actually, moving to Norwich is the best place for my company to succeed and to grow because of that aggregation of competence that exists in that region. And we should see that sort of inward movement of companies that provide more jobs, and you can measure the pounds and the inward investment, right? So that type of narrative is also really valuable. But fundamentally, the thing that I would like to be held against more than anything is that I'm spending firefighters' money, I'm spending nurses' money, I'm spending the public's money. We are here in service of the public, right? And I would like the public to feel more and more and more that research and innovation improves their lives, improves the economy, and improves their economic opportunity.
I agree with, can I just replace feel with see? I think they need to see it. They need to see the numbers, and they need to see it in their localities. Norwich, can I just pick you up? It's a very interesting example. When I insisted on taking the department in UKRI on a 29 cluster tour around the country, each time, you may remember, I asked for a map of where the UKRI investment in that cluster place was. Innovate UK, where they were supporting companies, and DSIT, where it was supporting projects. It was like pulling teeth. UKRI could produce Excel printouts of which professors and, but there was no sense of geography of place. UKRI could tell me which companies they'd given money to, but they didn't have any information on what other companies there were there and whether it was a cluster or not. And DSITs were pretty arbitrary and quite political. Where are you on the journey because to support you, we'd like to be able to have annual reports and say 3 priorities, funding's going up, clearly allocated, and it's working. Norwich is a good example. It's had a lot of science. I've done my bit to pull it in. It hasn't been very good at turning that into companies, unlike, say, Glasgow, which has been a poster child for turning, some good R&D into Europe's #1 satellite city. So these clusters are very different. How are you going to be able to measure where the money allocation is working?
Yeah. This comes to the root, actually, of one of the behavioural changes that I do want to bring to UKRI, which is that previously I would I would contend that the way we've made investments has been somewhat transactional and slightly tactical, and I would like to elevate that to having more strategic long-term relationships with places, with mayoral combined authorities, and also with our delivery partners, with universities, with companies, where they know that there's a continuity, that there's a commitment on our side, that is the place that we do a thing, and we're really going to really support you, so that they can then put match and investment into that, not thinking, oh, well, we've got a grant for 3 years, but I don't know whether it's going to continue in 3 years' time. So
hence the question, I totally agree, the first question about UKRI. Do you agree with me that where we want to get to, I appreciate it may not be by 4 o'clock today, but as quickly as we can, is all of us to be able to tell the public and the world, look, by sector, we're investing, it used to be 3 billion a year in life sciences. Now that's roughly 700 through the MRC, what you might call blue sky, 1.5 through NIHR, which you might call applied, and then some other which was growth related. And we used to do, but I used to be able to answer that question. In other sectors, we couldn't. Don't you agree with me that it would be really helpful to be able to know what those three numbers are by the key growth sectors and by the key first 10, 15 clusters? As a trade envoy, I'd love to be able to tell people those numbers because it would really help to pull in inward investment.
Our allocations explainer does exactly that for the industrial strategy sectors. We can say this is how much on applied research, this is how much on innovation. It also shows this is how much on basic curiosity-driven research in the subject. So you can do that now from our budget on the numbers. It has yet to get to, and these are the places that we're going to cluster around that. But we are working on that intently. We really do want to say and give continuity to places and say you're sort of our partner of choice here. And a big part of that is the Local Innovation Partnership Fund, which is meant to be catalytic. So we are working at the moment, it's a very live issue, with 10 different regions, and then there's another competed strand that's going on in parallel for the second wave. But with those 10, we are driving to, in a co-creation way, to say we're going to be the best place in Europe or the best place in the world to do this thing. Not we're going to invest in 10 different things and do them all at small amounts. I don't want crumbs to everybody. I want to say, right, here's a thing, we're going to do it really well. And that's going to then become a cluster and a focus for the place.
Thank you. Two specific questions on that. On the sectors, can you, I'm not asking you to give me the whole lot, but can you pick a standout sector which is top of the league table for turning, however small the money is, turning public R&D into private, and which is the one, I don't want to name and shame, but pick a sector where we're putting quite a lot of money in, we don't have to blame anyone, but we've got to get more private in.
I wouldn't want to do that off the cuff. I mean, I should have data to back that up, and I don't have that at my fingertips. So I'm very happy to come back to you on that.
Interesting answer, because I think all of us, as quickly as we can, should sort of have that pie chart in front of us.
I do agree. But at the moment, we are in a world where we have spread. So it's a bit hard to point to those examples, because let's take life sciences. We've spread life sciences money all over the country, And that might be the right answer, it might be. But it's worth really thinking carefully, is that the right answer? Is that the best way to get economic return? We're supporting discovery science everywhere, but should we be clustering more of the application? Should we be clustering more of the innovation and startup and scale-up money around places, which we're not really doing at the moment? So that's very live in UKRI. We're working hard on it, but no answer yet.
Could I ask, when do you feel you may be able to come back to us with, not the final answer, but a decent, presentable draft of the allocations by sector and place?
Certainly this year. So
this year?
Done. Peter, walk you through it, but that information exists. By place, end of the year, we should be in a position to do that.
Can we make an appointment, Chair? I think it'd be really good to hear that. Can I just come into accountability, the last bit, because there's a huge amount of money, as you say. You're in a chain of accountability within UKRI. Research Council's accountable to you, and then you to Treasury and DCIT and rest of government. How does that work? When I was Minister, Ottoline and the Chair would come into the department. The Chair would refuse to meet me because I was the junior minister. He'd meet the Secretary of State. Ottoline would meet me. It's not ideal. And they were quite resistant to this conversation. Surely now, with these priorities, we need a serious quarterly... do you present to Cabinet? I mean, what's the mechanism for government to make sure that they're giving you every support you need to drive this?
Yeah. So within the department, I meet our Science Minister on a fortnightly basis.
Lord Valence.
So very, very closely in touch with Lord Valence. I regularly meet the Secretary of State and speak to the Permanent Secretary, and almost daily basis to our Director General. And then regular contact with the Treasury, have met the FST and the CST multiple times in the process of setting up our allocations. So I really do feel a strong support from
Is the NSTC, which we set up, the National Science and Technology Council, to give this the cabinet level leadership, still meeting? And do you have a chance to present to cabinet how you're doing on the three priorities?
I couldn't answer the question of how frequently that meets, and I have not presented to cabinet.
Okay. Thank you.
Could I just lastly ask about the chair? Is there a plan to appoint a new chair? It's a key job to give you support, and would it be full-time? Any plans, timetable?
Very live. The advert is closed. So the current chair, Andrew's term, ends in the end of June. The advert is closed. I understand that the department are in the shortlisting process at the moment, with interviews planned towards the end of this month, I believe. Again, obviously not my appointment, it's my boss, so the department's appointment, but that is my understanding of the timescale.
Okay.
Is there anything in our inquiries you'd like us to help push and support to help you drive this very exciting agenda as quickly as it needs, given the global competition?
I think the thesis of your questions is exactly on the money. How we make choices. I reiterate that when we make choices, I'm not talking about do we do life sciences, or do we do things which affect national security, or do we do the creative industry? Surely we're going to do all of them. It's within the creative industry, what do we really do? I don't want us to try to do everything and to try to spread our money everywhere. We have to own the fact that we are a medium-sized economy, not in a big trading bloc. That's what we are. We have an amazing asset in our research and innovation base, as I said, latent. But we will only exploit that asset if we focus on a few things and do them really well and be the best place in the world to do them, not if we try to do everything. We're not the US, we're not China, we're not the European Union, right? We're not. And we have to really focus and be clear-eyed about things which are going to give us the biggest return. Right. So within the creative, be choiceful. Within life sciences, be choiceful. So I would very much welcome coming back to you in the future and you holding me to account on, are we actually making choices? Are we being deliberate in what we're doing?
Not the chance
what are we stopping?
Yeah, you are. I think you've made a powerful case for innovation-led growth.
Yes.
And that we would love to hold you to account on how we're doing, because the economy needs it.
Thank you very much, George, and absolutely to